Can you even see me out here? This is 57th and Sycamore. We are at the Barrel House restaurant in their parking lot right now. I feel like I'm doing hurricane coverage, not blizzard coverage, because I have to plant myself here so the wind doesn't knock me over. Fraud detectives in the Sioux Falls Police Department estimate they've seen at least $50,000 worth of fraudulent checks so far this year. And they say there's one place in particular that criminals like to snatch them from: your mailbox. 11th between Main and Phillips, as well as 12th between Main and Phillips, were shut down for about the past hour. It is absolutely crazy in here, and I'll tell you, two of the craziest fans are Ned Hirsch and Joe Connor. They both traveled because they're trying to see all 351 NCAA Division I teams at stadiums across the country. If you buy your tickets in advance, they're just $5, and Valeska wants to see you here, so you should definitely come out this weekend. I put all the details with all of the hours of this weekend's event right here on the KSFY News app. We don't know yet if speed was a factor in last night's accident, but neighbors in this area say people drive way too fast on this stretch of highway. In a KSFY follow-up, an Aberdeen man accused of shooting and killing an Andover woman and setting her apartment on fire has pleaded not guilty. A consumer alert tonight as the U.S. Department of Ag recalls more than 228,000 pounds of Spam. Professional bull riders are back in Sioux Falls for the 4th year in a row, and it all kicked off tonight. Sioux Falls police have updated us about an armed robbery that happened tonight at the Frying Pan restaurant on 41st Street. A man walked in with a handgun just before 7 tonight, demanded cash, and ran off westbound on 41st. A standoff involving officers and an armed man holed up in a barn in Brown County has ended peacefully after nearly 20 hours.
I think it was just instinct. We heard the call on the radio and seen the guy walking on the bridge, and it's just, you stop, you pull over, and you stop the traffic.
And that's exactly what Kurt Thiessen and his team did. The DOT workers were on their way back from mowing when the call came over the radio.
And then Chris and I went underneath the bridge to see if we could break his fall if he did jump. And then he was up there climbing around on the braces for the sign. And so then when he did finally come down, he was hanging by his fingertips.
When the teen dropped from the sign, a few thoughts went through Gary Steinhoff and Chris Peters' minds.
How heavy is he? Can we catch him? Or are we going to hurt him worse? Or are we going to get hurt? A lot went through a person's mind. It would have been nice to have an air mattress or something, but no time to run after that.
But the teen swung past them, landed, and tried to run into traffic on the other side of the median.
He was very combative. He was wanting to swing, and we really had to lay down on him to keep him from kicking and breaking away. So
you put your own lives at risk to do that.
I guess that thought never even went through my mind. It was, we got to take care of this situation at hand right here, and you got to do what you got to do.
And no one had a second thought.
Do what you think everybody else would normally do. So you just react and do it.
It shouldn't matter who it is, I guess. Whether rich, poor, famous, not famous, you should still stop and help them. In a situation like that, he's looking for help, so you just can't drive by and be like, oh, the guy behind me will stop. You got to stop and lend a helping hand to the ability that you have.
So thoughtful. The workers all say they're just glad they were there to help and are hoping the teen gets the treatment he needs and ends up feeling better soon.
What you making over there, man?
Joseph Kelly looks like any other cook on the line at Parker's Bistro.
For one thing, this kitchen right here is way bigger than what I'm used to.
But he usually cooks for a few more people.
I don't have a stovetop. I have one grill, 2 ovens, 1 fryer, 2 kettles, and a steam line. That's how I feed my crew.
Lead Petty Officer Kelly is a culinary specialist aboard the PCU South Dakota, set to be commissioned the USS South Dakota this fall.
Roll with the boat, as they call Heaven Sea Legs.
He's been cooking on a submarine for 18 years, serving more than 130 naval officers per meal.
You gotta be able to roll with the boat.
He might be doing more dough rolling than rowing this week. Kelly is one of 2 sailors spending time at Parker's, Sanaz, MB Haskett, and Josiah's.
The main thing is learning this stuff and giving it to the crew. It's all about the crew when I'm there, just making sure the crew is happy and fed.
Kelly is currently stationed in Groton, Connecticut with his wife Bridget and son Jackson, but he's originally from San Diego, so he's here to learn about South Dakota home cooking.
My senior chief is from South Dakota. He wanted to instill like bison burgers and bison steaks, but I wanted to see for myself the different styles of cooking, the different products that are used. One thing I really like is the local stuff that is used. I see how I can bring all this stuff back to Groton and say, hey guys, this is what I learned. Let's see how we can represent the South Dakota and eat like they do.
It's a unique opportunity for the restaurants too.
It just happened that today we were working on our new summer menu, and Joe was involved, and he added a few things to it that were fun to, his perspective, which was really fun and helpful.
That's good though.
That's good, yeah.
Oh boy, that's good.
Lead Petty Officer Kelly says he loves baking, so he's also really looking forward to learning about pastries and local ingredients used here. The weather in Garrettson held up for campers this holiday weekend, but it hasn't been that way throughout the summer for state parks all across South Dakota.
Labor Day weekend is historically one of the busiest 3 weekends we have. It's Memorial, 4th of July, and then Labor Day.
South Dakota Game Fish and Parks hopes this holiday weekend makes up for a rainy, cool summer.
We are down 2% for the year. Late spring was pretty unprecedented. If I remember correctly, we had a blizzard in April, and that really set back the camping season, and those cold spring, wet spring, it really got a late start.
But campers like Ron Showers say South Dakota weather won't keep him at home.
We're pretty well set. You don't like real severe storms and stuff like that, but we've got a good solid camper, and we also, when we get a group of people, which we commonly do, we have a 10 by 20 deal we set up in case it rains. You can put tables under there, and you're set for it. We've been camping long enough so that weather isn't really a factor.
Ron is retired and tends to camp during the week now, but this time they were able to score a last-minute weekend reservation.
We just booked it less than 3 days ago, so to get a site on a weekend, I think we got lucky and got a cancellation to be able to stay Saturday night into Sunday.
Despite a dismal summer, Bowman says there's still plenty of time to camp.
Fall is a great time to go camping. Nice, cool weather, less bugs. You can sit around and enjoy the fire. Usually there's a lot of natural beauty in the state parks with the leaves turning. Most parks will stay busy through September and well into October.
Don't be afraid of a little rain. Have fun.
Bowman says state parks are open year-round, and many have cabins and lodges with heaters, so you can enjoy the beauty of the parks all year long. In Garrettson at Palisades State Park, Erika Leigh, KSFY News.
He's just one of those people that I couldn't think of how he could have been a better person.
In his more than 2 decades of service, Deputy Stephen Majeski, known better as Magic, encouraged and supported many across Minnehaha County.
He always pushed me to keep applying, keep doing stuff. You'll get on sooner or later, and here I am.
Saturday, many came out to support him.
To see all of those folks come out and support the family like that. Steve has 2 kids, and they get to see just what it's like to have a law enforcement funeral when you have all those people coming from across the state. Every officer across the state has people that they know, and so everyone knows someone, and even for the people that didn't know Magic, they knew someone that did.
The procession stretched for miles. Captain Mike Walsh says the community support poured over to those who didn't even know Majeski.
A lot of people who were at intersections who couldn't go anywhere were getting out of their cars, removing their hats, covering their heart with their hand. We live in Sioux Falls, which is a pretty great city, and to see the citizens get out of their cars and acknowledge Steve as he went by was pretty cool.
In Sioux Falls, Erika Leigh, KSFY News.
Fraud detectives in the Sioux Falls Police Department estimate they've seen at least $50,000 worth of fraudulent checks so far this year. And they say there's one place in particular that criminals like to snatch them from: your mailbox.
Almost all the time, the checks that we find are checks that were taken out of someone's personal mailbox.
Detective Curtis Daughter says criminals pick easy targets.
People typically send letters. It's a bill, a birthday card, something with maybe a check in it.
The thieves snatch your mail in hopes of finding a prize. Then they get to work on getting your cash.
Then they wash the checks with different chemicals, and they wash the pay to line, they wash the amount line, and they add whatever name they want, and they add a different dollar amount, which is going to be typically in the thousands.
While mail fraud is what police are seeing, Joshua Nunn at Black Hills Federal Credit Union says the cons are getting more creative. Fraudsters are still using the internet to scam people, but instead of asking for credit card numbers, they're asking people to cash checks for them.
So we are seeing members that are bringing in checks that they've received, wanting to negotiate it at their credit union, and then send the money to them through FedEx or wire transfers.
He says his bank staff is trained to try to prevent their customers from falling victim by taking a good look at the check being cashed, reviewing customers' banking history, and more.
And then we also ask our members questions about how these checks came to be and why they're receiving these particular checks.
Because stolen checks are the top offense police see, Daughter says there are a few easy ways to prevent someone from draining your account.
Don't send your checks in your own mailbox. Go to a post office mailbox. Make sure the check got to who it was supposed to get to. Monitor your bank accounts, make sure that check was cashed in the right amount.
Detective Daughter says the most common victims of this kind of scam are folks who grew up without the internet. But it's not just the elderly. Baby boomers are at risk too. He says the best way to avoid getting scammed is to have maybe somebody younger than you show you how to use a computer or pay your bills online.